Monadnock region, and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Monadnock region's only locally focused weekly comedy podcast, GoMo Tonight. I'm your host here in the Space Lounge, Chris DiLoretto, here with my lovely co-host,
Zoe Rotenheinsman.
And we apologize for being a little bit crooked. We are not on a boat.
We're in space.
Tipping in the seas. We're, of course, in the Space Lounge where there is no up and down. But the camera...
We're having gravity problems.
The camera can be fixed. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Anyways, we have been absent for a little while.
It's true.
We took a little break after our last live show, mainly just because of busyness and schedules and planning some things for the next few months. But also, I got to tell you, I was a little frustrated after that episode, and I've been just a little bit put off by this quest to find a platform that's going to work for our needs here. Mm. We've tried two different things for a live stream broadcast. The first one, Riverside, I thought was decent, but had some problems, enough problems that I wanted to try something else. And then something else that we tried was way worse. There doesn't seem to be a lot of competition in this space. I need to do more research. I don't know. I'm making excuses, I realize, but it pissed me off. And then we took a break. And in the meantime, a million things have happened. We have so much to talk about. Between, the kindness epidemic going around town, the candidates.
Town meeting season has begun.
We're in full swing. I'm a candidate, by the way. Full disclosure. Don't want to get accused of any conflicts of interest here. I'm running unopposed because everyone's smart. Just kidding. I've only ever lost my contested races in life, so that would be a silly comment to make in if I was being serious. But so I don't mean that. But there's
what else is going on? Fires of several kinds.
Karen Hatcher's out here just like trying to set the town on fire as if the fucking $2.1 million wasn't bad enough. 2.3 million. Sorry, I'm just kidding, Karen. We love you. And I would never accuse anybody of anything like that. No, I don't know. We gotta pick something to start on, I guess.
Let's start with the fires. We can go backwards because that is like the most recent news, right?
Yep.
There two fires happened in the past 24 hours.
Yeah, just in the past 24 hours, right? Yes.
So
different phenomenon, I think.
We don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure because the first one is related to the prior one. So, the more dramatic incident. Well, so I don't know. If it was last night, I would have said that the one happening last night was the most dramatic. But then today, I really think that it was topped because 202 was closed. Like people were talking about it in Keene. Like it was, it was news because of brush. I mean, I keep wanting to call them wildfires because that's a more dramatic term.
It is dramatic.
The correct term is brush fire, I believe.
I heard that the power line fell across the street and started a fire.
That seems to be something like that.
But not far from the Space Lounge itself.
Not really. Yeah. I mean, the Space Lounge is kind of directly above it in orbit.
I mean, I wasn't like worried about it reaching up here in space, but
indeed. But
closer than most fires.
So we're in a state, for those of you who don't know, of dryness. There's dryness. We're right around the time when the pollen police come out and tell you not to garden, because if people do any sort of agriculture whatsoever too early, every butterfly and bee and hummingbird drops dead. They die. And then the wheat crop fails. And then people have famine and war. I don't really understand what people think happens, but
what happens now that so much brush is burnt? Because that's like the habitat that we're supposed to be concerned about.
Well, God, I mean, see, nature,
all the dead leaves on the ground.
Nature competes on this, though, right? Because the thing is, as we know, right, as we've learned from California, and what we could have learned from the Native Americans is that you need to have some periodic fires because a ton of underbrush is actually really bad. And it's not healthy for the forest. And, when the inevitable fire does come, everything then catches on fire instead of just like the little healthy fires that happen naturally.
Yeah.
Right? So I guess perhaps the bees and the butterflies don't like that we don't want large fires. I think that they would die in the large fires too. But
the butterflies want them
to die?
No, the large fires.
I don't know. They might. I don't really understand. I don't think that they know what's best. This is why we don't listen to the butterflies and the bees, guys. But see, that's stage 1. But stage 2, which is coming, because look, guys, climate has changed a bit, and we don't have very wet springs anymore. We'll probably have a wet spring every few years now instead of all the time, right? But by town meeting, there's already, Ivy, I can hear her voice, just being like, well, we need the rain. Lord knows we need the rain. I hope it would rain. There's people all over this town who walk around on sunny days for weeks at a time wishing for rain, hoping that it will rain, as if they personally have like the wheat crop that's going to fail and the family farm is going to get sold. I mean, that shit happened 100 years ago. Okay. There's no one left. It's over. That's not a thing. And we have lots of water. And here, anyways, yes, anyone who depends on the Colorado River, you're fucked. The federal government just told you that. But here in New Hampshire, in New England, we're like hundreds of years away from that situation. So, anyways, though, that's what people are about to say. But it is too dry in the sense that anything can catch on fire right now. And in fact, beyond the typical complaints that we hear, which we hear them regardless of the humidity level, right? Part of the fire danger right now is that it's like wicked low humidity in the air, not just on the ground, So, the what should we call them? Water whalers? The water whalers, they don't so much care about humidity in the air because that doesn't help the water table and the groundwater and all of these things that supposedly are in danger, right? But the fires, people care about fires, and I would put myself in that category. They do care about humidity in the air, and that's what makes it so that don't be flicking your butts out there and don't be shooting off fireworks. Seriously, and I love fireworks, and I have been known to flick a butt here and there in my life. Don't do it. Don't do it right now. Shit'll catch on fire, as we saw today. But I will say, though, I don't know, though. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe more interestingly, everyone's second favorite abandoned property in town after the IDG building, the busted down house across from Alltown gas station. Last night had a fire. Second fire there in like a couple months. Yeah. People hate it. They want it gone, and someone keeps setting it on fire. I mean, we don't know. But no one's in there. No one's smoking in bed in that house. You know what I'm saying? No one's leaving the stove on. No, it's abandoned. Like no one is in there.
Are you accusing someone of arson?
I like to say that it was Karen Hatcher. I don't know but it could have been anybody. It could have been, honestly, someone should make a play or a little short film or something about this, because if this were a murder mystery,
yeah,
right?
Like I was thinking like Clue.
The suspects. There's so many. Oh my God, we could find so many suspects in town, because as with any good murder mystery, the amount of people who wanted that house dead for many different reasons. What's hilarious, right, though, about things like this and the IDG building? I want to point this out, this kind of irony. that I see out there is that, you guys know, I have very strong opinions about all kinds of ridiculous, trivial things that perhaps people shouldn't have such strong opinions about. I don't apologize, but I acknowledge, I'm self-aware. I know that that's a thing, right? And these abandoned properties just like do not enter into, and I drive past them like daily, right? I live like right near both of them, and I don't even notice. I don't even see it. I get it that they're ugly and that we want to pretend. I noticed the bunker. The bunker's fucking ugly, even with the bees on it. Sorry. Sorry, famous mural artist. But the abandoned building, I just could not possibly give less of a shit. They affect nothing, as far as I can see. But anyways, not everyone feels that way, and they set it on fire.
Maybe they should paint butterflies on it instead.
That's a good segue, because we can go in a couple of different directions with this, because, with the Peterborough Elementary School PES Acts of Kindness fundraiser, right? A thoughtful citizen might argue that, so in this fundraiser, instead of selling you like bullshit trinkets that are going to break for way too much money for the fundraiser, which they normally do. I know, I buy the things. They are like asking for donations, and then the kids who get the donations are like signing up for acts of kindness.
So how does this work? Can you do you pick a kid and be like, haha, I'm sponsoring you, you must be kind now? Or does it all go into a pool and then there's some kindness representative children?
Well, so, I can tell you firsthand, because I was about to say that I know, because I would buy the chintzy stuff, right? But I would not contribute to the acts of kindness, but I did. I donated $20, to two lovely children to whose PTO. It's like a tradition. I just give to their PTO fundraiser every year. They're not my kids. They're different kids. Right. And I was like, well, shit. All right. I can't withdraw my support. You know what I mean? It's not their fault that this fundraiser sucks. You know what I mean? I donated anyway. But yeah, that's all. That's all. You do pick the kid that you donate to, but that's all you pick. You don't get to demand. I mean, because that would be an interesting fundraiser, honestly, if you pay the money and you demand a certain act of kindness.
I didn't mean that.
That would be awesome, though. That would be cool. Listen, guys, if you want to make this a cool fundraiser, let us force the kids to do shit, right? But no, you don't.
I mean, how is this different than forcing the kids to do shit, though?
Well, because I think they're the ones saying that they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and we have no way to verify it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah. All right, yeah.
Who knows what's being claimed out there, But yeah, so that's the fundraiser. And so, one could say, if those kids really wanted to be kind, they would have banded together to paint the butterfly on the house and bring some cheer to people, or the IDG building.
That's the act of kindness I will donate for.
But hear me out. Maybe one young, smart, enterprising kid set the house on fire as an act of kindness, and maybe that's a slightly misguided, but that they truly believed that it was an act of kindness for the town. You know what? I'm just going to put it out of its misery. I'm going to put the town out of its misery.
They just wrote town beautification project for their act of kindness.
Picked up trash. Helped the elderly. I would not. I don't want to make either the police or fire departments think that I'm offering to pay children to do arson. I don't want to be accused of that. But that's a fundraiser activity. I can at least I can get down with the philosophy behind it anyways, even if it might be a crime to offer money for someone else to commit a crime.
Might be.
Oh man. So that's some of what's going on. We have, I don't want to get into that weird flare up in the bullying.
No.
Bullygate. We're not going to talk about Bullygate. I don't want nothing to do with that.
I
Good
don't
luck
think
to all.
it's very
I wish
interesting.
I wish everyone well, in that one. Maybe that should be a recurring joke though, that like we bring up Bullygate like years down the line, and we're just like, no, not gonna go there. It's still too raw.
Too soon.
Too soon. No, I'm sorry, I shouldn't joke about that. But
Too soon.
I can't help it. So as Harlow's seems increasingly to near its rumored sale, which again, still hearing conflicting information about, who the purchaser might be, what the fate might be. But, they had their elite invite only
Yes. What
dance, like last hurrah bash.
was that? What it was? A last hurrah bash?
Yeah. I mean, that was the point of it, I think. It was
Okay.
like a...
That makes more sense to me.
Well,
than-
yeah, it was kind of like the Harlow's rats of yesteryear.
Yeah. I get it.
We were not invited to be
We
clear.
were almost invited.
Were we almost invited?
We were.
Really?
Yep.
What?
There's a person who was invited, not naming names, who almost invited us, but
I
then
see.
decided that we were too busy.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I just assumed, and it's still probably true though, that like my talking shit about Harlow's and telling Dave to sell it, because he's lost the mandate of heaven for like 2 years, might have earned me like a non-invite. Reasonable, respectable. I don't begrudge that, really.
Yeah. But I thought you'd like to know. We were almost
Oh,
there.
that's nice though.
Almost invited.
That's nice. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm not, we have friends who were there, but I don't feel like I've ever been like friends with that like whole
Yeah, it would have felt
old Harlow's group.
yeah,
we
it would've felt weird.
we didn't belong there.
No, we didn't.
But happy that seems to be moving along.
Yeah, I didn't really put that together. But
That we talk shit?
No, that it was like a last hurrah kind of like old Harlow's gang thing.
That's why it's like, well, because there was like live music in there, and which has been withheld from the general public,
right.
But so it was kind of like, all right, we'll let the light shine in, we'll let the sun shine one more time for the select group of people or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's fine because I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what happens next. Whether the general public will get music back.
I hope so.
I do too.
All right, I won't talk any more shit. I've said enough. But, the owner of Harlow's did, cheat the American taxpayer out of $100,000 and cheat the donors of Peterborough out of like $30,000. And that's a matter of public record. So I can't be sued for saying it. You can look it up. So fuck him. And here's to whatever new Harlow's is, and talking shit about them if it sucks. Let's hope they know how to mix a drink. Not to increase my shit talking, but if you want a cocktail, don't go to Harlow's. They lost most of the time that I've lived in this town, they had no liquor license. They just had the beer license. And they lost it, like supposedly. That was, so I've been told. Allegedly. All right. That, I never looked that up, but pretty sure that was the case. And they did, for quite some time anyways, have a decent beer selection.
Yep.
But if you like a cocktail or whatever.
We were there one time and didn't the bartender like ask us what went into one of the drinks?
A margarita,
yeah.
I believe. And again, much love to all bartenders, but I don't know.
Seems standard.
Seems like something you should know how to do. But like,
Anyway.
I don't know. Yeah. Here, who knows? We're clearly though, as we've referenced in prior shows, this town is undergoing a major singular period of upheaval, with businesses changing hands, traditions dying, new ones being born. And that's interesting. And that's probably for the best. And as people depart from their businesses and depart from the things that they've done, good or bad, black-hearted or benevolent, we should wish them well.
Yes.
And we do. We'll still talk shit. And if you talk badly about us or the town on your way out, we will accuse you of crimes after you're gone and can't defend yourself. We'll print it on T-shirts, and we will dare you to do something about it. We have many future plans. So, but yeah, it's exciting. It's one of those, Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times kind of times.
Yeah,
and we're in the middle of it. And that's, that's where we find ourselves going into town meeting.
It was a good town meeting segue.
Thank you. So we're filled with good segues today. Town meeting. We have 2 contested races.
Yes. The planning board has a seat up that's contested. I am not remembering the candidates' names off the top of my head because I don't think I know either of those candidates.
No, there's 3. It's Andy Dunbar, who I'm surprised you don't know who that is.
I don't.
An opinionated gentleman, from what I understand.
I guess the name rings a bell, but I can't picture him.
He was a neighbor of mine on Summer Street.
Oh, are any of these the incumbent, or is this
I'm looking.
Okay.
He's the only name I remember because he's the only one I think that I know. But we know for the select board.
Yes, we know for the select board we've got Tyler Ward running to keep his seat, and Andrew Osterman is challenging him.
Indeed, Andrew, who has been on the pod, which we can't say about Tyler. Tyler has refused our invitations so far. We haven't invited him during this town meeting season. I want to be clear. I haven't tried to harass him to come on in a while.
It's been a while since.
So he deserves another shot. But Andrew's been on once with a promise to come back, although we haven't done that yet. But he's a member of the budget committee and the rec committee, correct?
Yes, correct.
Excuse me. Has proposed some warrant articles on that are going to be actually in the open session of town meeting, which we'll get to those in a minute.
Yep.
So he's challenging Tyler. We don't have necessarily details yet about the, I never pronounce French or Latin very well, but the raison d'etre, of, I don't know why Andrew's running. I legitimately don't. I haven't found that out yet. But we will. We're going to be doing a Peterborough Peterborough Parley 3 in conjunction with the library, Peterborough Town Library, be held in the 1833 room. And
on May the
3rd, 3 de Mayo. And
you do pronounce Spanish very well.
Yes, I do.
You did stick with that one.
Yes, I will. I am. Yes, I'm much better at Spanish than I am at French. So it'll be 6:30 to 8 p.m. We will have debates between the select board candidates and the planning board candidates, and we will also be inviting all of the other candidates to participate in a vision session to begin the program, in which they'll be able to offer, short statements expressing their own affirmative visions for what they want to see the town become in like the medium and long term. And that portion is going to be hosted by the Honorable Jonah Wheeler, the representative from Hillsborough 33, who's going to, come and do some co-hosting duties with us that night. So that's going to be a big fun. We're going to invite everybody to submit profiles over here, and we'll have some questions that we'll hopefully be publishing on the website. And every candidate will have an invitation to come on the program, whether they're in a contested race or not. So you can look forward to that. I don't know if everyone will bite or will have the time or will be able to do it, but we will. Anybody who wants to come on, we will accommodate, and we look forward to that. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be finding out a lot of things, but it's all still unknown.
Yeah,
largely.
Yeah, we haven't gotten statements from anyone. Nothing really known yet.
Yeah, where in God's name is this ballot?
You should look on our own website.
I didn't put it on our website.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, you put it on the Facebook only?
Yeah, we don't update our website.
Oops.
We haven't.
Would have been easy to find if we had.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but nobody's
looking for the candidate list here. I don't think it's on the town website. Is it?
No.
I heard that the list of candidates was not on the town website.
We posted it on Facebook. And,
yes.
Yeah. If we only had a producer.
Yeah. Sorry, planning board candidates, for not having
we
your
do
names
love you.
In our minds.
And we're not trying to
We love you. We just don't know you yet.
But we will. We hope to get to know you too well in the days to come.
We'll never forget your names.
We will never forget your names. All right. The planning board candidates are Andrew Dunbar, Gary Gorski, and Lisa Stone. We know Lisa.
Oh,
we know Lisa Stone.
Sorry, Lisa.
Sorry, Lisa. My bad.
Lisa must be an incumbent.
She's not. She was defeated in the last election.
Oh, I feel like
she was on it. No, but she got defeated.
I see. Oh, I see.
And so she's coming back.
All right.
She's coming back. Maybe.
Shooting for a comeback.
Trying for a comeback. Yes. And I do apologize, Gary. I'm sure you're a lovely fellow. Don't know who you are. So I don't know the positions of any of these candidates, or anything about it. So really looking forward to find that out.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about this, I think maybe in our first live program, when Jonah came on, that I might get roped into being a zoning board candidate. That happened. I was talked into it by many people. I am 2 years into a 3-year alternate commitment. So I was staying on it anytime, every important or controversial case that has come before that board as an alternate, I have had to become a voting member on because someone always recuses themselves. So it never felt very alternate. Like the pressure was always on. And you know what? It's boring. It's boring as shit, but it is necessary work. And now, for better or worse, I know how to do it. And that's why people ask me to try to go for the full seat. The two incumbents who would have been up for re-election, Peter LaRoche and Peggy Liedberg, did not want to run again, which God bless them. I don't blame them. They've been on it for a while, and their service was great to the town, much appreciated. I enjoyed. It was a pleasure and an honor to be on the board with them, but they don't want to do it no more. And I don't blame them. So I said, so that means there's 2 seats up, and I'm running against a gentleman. Not against. I'm basically running with a gentleman by the name of Daniel Latini, whom I also don't know. But Daniel, we will, barring a massively successful insurgent write-in campaign, Daniel and I will both be serving on the board together come June. So Daniel, look forward to meeting you and serving with you. to the rest of you, you have no choice but to take me. I mean, frankly, if it was contested, my campaign approach was basically going to be, look, you can vote for me for this if you want. And if you don't want to vote for me for this, I will still be an alternate and I will still vote on every important case because someone will recuse themselves. So yay, democracy. You're fucking stuck with me. So
That's
you might have
got like a little rhyme to it. Yay, democracy. You're fucking stuck with me.
I like that. Yeah. That
good rhythm.
That would have been what I printed on the campaign signs.
Yeah.
Vote to Loretto. Yay, democracy. You're fucking stuck with me. But in reality, yeah, I mean, sorry guys, but at least for the next year, you would have been stuck with me on the zoning board. And now you're totally stuck with me for 3 years. So good luck. Actually, no, I'm honestly, I'm a very good zoning board member, if I may say so myself. And, I do it as a service to the town. I have basically no agenda. Again, I find it very dry and boring work. It's not exciting to me. I don't have strong feelings about it at all in most cases. Just I guess as a little primer, we've got time. For those of you who don't know, the purpose of the board, the Zoning Board of Adjustment, at least in the state of New Hampshire, is the state has said, and as we talk about fairly often, the state dictates 100% of everything to the towns. Towns in the live free or die state are basically not free to do anything and are not autonomous in any way, essentially. But one thing that towns are allowed to do on their own is to decide whether they want to regulate zoning. In other words, whether the town, and towns do not have to do this. There's a couple dozen towns in New Hampshire that don't. But if the town decides as a town that we are going to say that in certain parts of the town, you must build X way, and in other parts of town, you must build Y way, etc. If you're going to have a zoning code, right, which is our right to choose. But the state says that if the town wishes to restrict its citizens with a zoning code, there must be a means for relief from that code. And that is why a zoning board of adjustment is mandatory by state law for this. So in other words, what we're saying is the zoning code exists, and it exists by the will of the people. Everything that's in the code was voted on by the public. It's not decided by the select board. It's not decided by the town administrator, Linda doesn't decide, town clerk doesn't make these things up. This is the people, right? So when the people democratically vote and decide on these regulations, right, we recognize as a matter of law that might still sometimes, even though we're doing it for the right reasons, right? We are passing these laws because they're important to the character of the town. They're important to what we want the town to be. They're important to, in our view, our property values and maybe not just monetarily, right? In fact, pretty much definitely not monetarily, because I don't want to get into it, but the idea that random things can make your property value instantly go up and down is not real. But anyways, when I say property value, I mean like the value of the place that you live to you, right? You moved here for a reason and you want it to stay that way in certain ways. Again, reasonable impulse is all, right? However, we recognize as a matter of law that might yet put an unfair burden on other people who also own property and also want to do things that they want with that property. And so the board is there to ensure that, while we will follow the zoning ordinances and certainly in spirit always, right? When someone comes before the board and says, hey, I want to do this thing that's a little bit out of code, but here's why it's reasonable. Here's why it doesn't screw with anybody. Here's why, even if somebody doesn't like it, the greater good outweighs that person who's unhappy about it. And, here's why it's reasonable for me to want this and it's unreasonable for you to deny it to me. That's literally what we do on that board. And that's what it's for. And again, I think it's really boring. I'm not interested in this shit at all. But now I know how to do it. And I think it's important. I think it should exist. I think that I 100% believe that. I believe in people's democratic right to regulate these things within reason, but also I do believe that within reason, people should be allowed to do kind of what they want with their property. And those two things will always be in tension. The collective and the individual. And the zoning board sits at the heart of those two things and mediates between them and grants relief when it's appropriate and denies it when it's not in the interest of the public. So that's what I'm going to do, whether you like it or not. But honestly, you just heard me rattle all that off. Who else would you want to do this for? Do you want to do it? No, you don't. It's boring. But you want it to happen, right? And so I'm volunteering as a service to do this. I get nothing out of it. But it's good to do. And I'm happy to do it. So that's what's up there. We might as well list off some of the other candidates here, right? Running unopposed for trustee of the trust funds, 3-year term is John A. Neeskins. Don't know John. Budget committee for 3 years. There's 3 candidates on this ballot, and there's 3 positions open, so also uncontested. Mary Clark, who sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Maybe a relation to Rich Clark?
Oh, perhaps. Carl Mabzino, who we know. We like Carl. Carl is he's with the Monadnock Writers Group. He's come to our open mic a few times. Really interesting guy.
Current budget committee member.
Current budget committee member, right? Yep. Nice guy. Good budget committee member. We don't, doesn't matter if I endorse him or say he's good or not because he's like me. He's going back. So Carl's coming on, and Richard Ray Nels, who I also don't know. But congratulations to Mary, Richard, and Carl for your presumptive reelection.
Your impending victory.
Your impending victory. My current and soon to be former colleague on the planning board, I will actually be taking his seat, listed here as C. Peter LaRoche, is running unopposed for cemetery trustee for 3 years.
Little switcheroo there.
Little switcheroo. Yep. So good for Peter. Library trustee for 3 years. We've got Peggy Van Valkenburg and Christine Mann. I don't know Christine, but I know Peggy is already a trustee on there. And then Recreation Committee, Kate Kuhn coming back. We got 2 seats for 3 years and 2 candidates. So we all know Kate. We love Kate. Maybe we don't love the idea to rehabilitate the community center, but she does a great job. But Devin Tomasulo joining the ranks. And we don't know Devin, but congratulations, Devin. Welcome aboard. All of you, so we didn't mention this at the beginning, but we are recording this on Thursday the 12th. We're going to put it out on, Wednesday the 12th, right? Sorry. We're going to put it out because I was about to say Friday the 13th, and I'm like, it's not Friday. I would have remembered if that's what was happening this week. No. It'll come out on Thursday the 13th. Maybe at night, but we're going to put it out right away. And that means we're going to cut Chad out, but it's not, no offense to Chad. We love Chad. There's no beef here. Chad's very busy with Down by 10. They got gigs 2, 3, 4 a month, at this point. And he's got like 4 other side projects as well. And he's turning 40. He's busy like growing into 40ness. So he's got a lot going on, but he hasn't even told us not to send him anything. We've just been fucking around with these stupid platforms, and the one that we're using right now, Iris, the way that it messes with the audio, there's nothing for him to there's almost nothing for him to really do other than add the songs, and like I don't want to make him do just that. I mean, I can do that, but we're not done because I'm not sticking with this platform because I hate it. But anyways, we wouldn't be able to turn it around in a day anyways. So we're going to get this right out. So probably by the time this episode comes out, this still will be the first many of the candidates are hearing about the parlay and our offers and all this stuff. We're in the process. It takes time for us to grab everybody's contact info and find you and reach out to you. We got a lot of irons in the fire. You know how it is. But expect to hear from us, candidates, even those of you who are running unopposed. We want you at the parlay. I know most of you will say no, and that's fine. You won't get any shit for it. You would if it was contested. and that's true for any contested race candidates, it would not look well, wouldn't be a good campaign image for you to skip a debate with your opponents, in my opinion. But totally fair if you're not in a real race. But we want to hear from you, though. We don't want to just skip over you because you're unopposed and say that you don't matter. We still care very deeply about why you're doing this, what you want. What's your vision? What's your agenda? What's your philosophy for civic engagement? What the hell? Like, what do you want? What are you going to do? What can you do? That kind of thing. So please, again, you'll hear, you don't have to do anything. I'm asking, please respond to our inevitable request that's coming your way. And
impending request
before your impending victory over no opponent. Yeah, I'm happy to hear, so let this be, let me personally be a lesson though for, ambitious young kids and anybody else out there, right? That if you want public office and you just keep running, eventually you'll get in.
Yeah. I'm an example of that too.
That's true.
I lost my race and then ran again the next year. Turned out unopposed.
Yeah. Just keep doing it.
Keep putting your hat in there.
They can't stop it on the local level where no one wants to do this stuff. Like if you just sign up enough times, they can't stop you. No matter how many enemies you have.
You will have an impending victory of your own.
And then you too can sit there for 2 hours looking at property maps and talking with lawyers at 9:00 on a Monday night.
Your little speech about it was somewhat inspiring.
I know it is. I know. I called it boring and then I made it sound really awesome. It's really important. It truly is. I meant all of that. It is really important. In practice, in the moment, though, when you're there, a lot of times you're like, hey, I called in a sandwich to Poncho's earlier and they close at 8:00 and I won't be able to get my sandwich if you don't end this goddamn meeting. I will say, I think every once in a while, Sharon might tune into the program. Sharon is a planning board chair. Zoning board chair. And I love Sharon, actually. Sharon's a great chair. But when I first started, Sharon had this rule where we weren't ever going to go past I don't remember if it was 8 or 8:30, but she was 90 minutes or 2 hours and we're out. We're going to cut it off. We're going to finish next week. And let me tell you, good rule. That's a good rule, but we haven't been, I don't know what happened to that rule, Sharon. But bring it back next year. New term, new rules. Let's say we go for an hour and a half. That's it. Now some of that is our fault, I will say. No offense, but I feel, especially now as a coming on full member, my colleagues ask way too many questions about way too many irrelevant things. What is relevant to our decision is honestly pretty simple. Most of these cases, I don't mean to be a jerk. Most of these cases, you can tell the answer from the application. All of them, you can kind of tell the right answer from the application in 15 minutes or so of the whatever presentation they're going to do. And, it's not that we don't listen to abutters, but every abutter doesn't want anything next to them. So it doesn't mean that much, and just that's, abutters, you should know that, right? You have a right to be heard and everything, but the fact that you don't want something next to you because it's next to you, isn't an argument that I consider personally. No one wants it. That's true. That's not, if it's not egregious. Granted, there's certain things you don't want, say, they're say hypothetical, recreation clubs that might deposit debris and heavy metals and, shrapnel generally on your property as they try to seize it from you. That's a different story. There's not referring to a real case here or anything that might be on appeal. I don't know. But there's cases where it's true, but a lot of times, abutters come in and they're just like, well, I don't like it because I think nothing should change.
Right.
And as a property owner, you don't have that right, unfortunately. You have the right to not be like infringed upon by something else that's unreasonable, but shit happens, man. Like that's just how it be. And I've also been in many hearings where abutters come and they're very upset, and they actually get the opportunity to go back and forth a little bit with the applicant's lawyer, or the applicant themselves. And I've seen once or twice where the abutters are kind of like, well, all right, maybe you guys aren't so bad. There is something for that, like face to face, like, hey, we don't hate you, abutter. Like, but this is what we're trying to do. And like, we're not going to mess with you in any way that we don't have to. And they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe you answered some of my questions. So I'm not saying that abutters are bad and should stay home. It sometimes is helpful to come in, but just know that hearing that you don't like something it's not particularly persuasive, but there's facts, so there's two things that I didn't intend for this to be a full on primer, but there's two things that people apply for to come before the ZBA. There's special exceptions and there's variances. And I'm not going to go into everything about what means what, but when something's a special exception, it's extremely cut and dry. It's a checklist. There's 5 things. If they meet the 5 things, we have to give it to them. If they meet 4 of them, if they meet anything less than 5 of them, we have to deny it. There's no discretion whatsoever on a special exception. Variances, however, there's about I think there might be 6, but there's at least 5 criteria on that as well. But each of those criteria themselves, each one of them involves a lot more judgment and involves a lot more discretion, where we do have to decide in our hearts whether or not we think something is reasonable and whether or not we think something is judicious. But again, I don't know, maybe not everybody, but I can tell that very quickly. Mm-hmm. I can answer most of these questions very, very, very quickly. And a lot of the questions that my colleagues ask are actually planning board questions, and they know that. They just want to ask them anyway. And that drives me crazy because I want to go get my sandwich at Pancho's. And this is boring. Let me out of here, But, and a lot of times we end up having to say that. It's like, all right, man, you're asking a line of questioning that doesn't matter. Sometimes the lawyer will say that, and I'll be sitting upstage being like, yeah, I know, I'm not fucking saying anything, I don't care about what I don't care about, like I want to know enough information to determine the facts of the case enough to vote on it. And that's it. I don't care about anything else. I don't, because it's boring. And that's why I'm a good candidate for this role.
Yeah. You have my vote.
Thank you. Hopefully many of you out there will vote for me because you have no choice.
We got to talk about these warrant articles though before we run out of time.
That's the last thing on the list.
All
I
right,
think,
great.
Right?
Yeah.
So our buddy Andrew has posited 3 of the most ridiculous warrant articles ever to pass the thing. No offense. And again, some have suggested that part of the point of these warrant articles is to spark conversation. And as someone who has here and there in the past been accused of being a troll, which is what, if not trying to start a conversation with perhaps slightly ridiculous provocations, right? I support that. I do. I support that. I'm not mad that the questions are there.
Yeah.
But God Almighty, if any of you vote for any of these, shame on you. So, question 1, banning. I mean, I might get these out of order, and I'm sorry, but I think this is the first one. It's to ban any town meetings or business conducted between, what is it, like 6 and 8 p.m. on weeknights?
I didn't know it was that specific.
Yeah, it's that specific. It's like,
I think of it as like the no weeknight meeting.
That's what it is. That's what it's for, is to say no weeknight meetings. He favors weekend meetings. And he is claiming very erroneously, Andrew, I just want to tell you, way off base on this one, but he's claiming like the mantle of parenthood, and that this is something that parents want, and that parents do not want to have meetings on weeknights. First of all, Andrew, most of us love having a break from the children on a weeknight or a weekend night or a weekend morning. But the last thing that I want to do, though, is be doing this boring meeting shit on a Saturday. I will resign. I'm completely serious. This is the one opportunity. Actually, yes. People of Peterborough, if you truly do not want me to be on the zoning board, vote yes for Andrew's initiative, because I will resign. I will not serve. I'm not giving my Saturdays for that. It's a very important thing that needs to function, that needs to be fulfilled, but that is a bridge too far, and that is a level of service that I am simply not willing to give. So won't do it. I intend to say that publicly in the open meeting when this is debated, to make that point. Terrible idea. Yeah.
As I said to Kate, chair of the rec committee, last month, I had the meeting, I had it written down, but like the night of the meeting came around and I was like, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but maybe not. I'm just going to sit down here and like, maybe I'll read a book or something, feeling all comfortable. She texted me like, are you coming? Crap. Okay. Got up, went to the meeting. It was only about 5 minutes late. If it was a Saturday morning and the same scenario had happened, I would not have gotten up and gone. Probably wouldn't have been in a state to get up and go.
We're going to voicemail. Yeah. Seriously.
Lounging around on a Saturday morning is different than like sitting down after a long day and being like, oh, well, one more thing to do. It's not the same. Not the same ask.
No, it's not. And like, I guess I want to be explicit about, we need to be clear about why meetings are weeknights from like 6 to 8. And it's a very simple explanation, but it's because that is the time that accommodates the most people. By far, actually. By far the most people. Again, not everyone, okay? But
that time doesn't exist.
We do, that time doesn't exist. We do have business hours in this society. Like, for real. That's real. I know that not everyone works business hours, but that's a thing, right? And so we don't schedule these meetings during business hours because the volunteers that we are asking to serve on these boards are largely employed. And because a majority of employed people are employed during business hours, a majority of the people who volunteer to do these things are therefore working during business hours. So we need them there. Weekends, people do fun things and they will bail. They don't want to do it. Right. And, also, if you're someone who's tied up on a weeknight, whether it's because of work or parenting, there's a really good chance that you're tied up working or parenting on a Saturday morning as well.
Yeah. I don't necessarily understand the childcare argument.
No, I truly don't. And so yes, are there people who I guess could be like de facto excluded, from the thing? Well, yeah. I mean, if you work at night, yeah, you can't do it. If you are a parent who has no childcare options whatsoever and you have young children, etc., you can't do it. If you, I don't know, have a fear of driving at night, you can't do it. That's true. That doesn't mean it's not accessible. We have, in a lot of corners, most of them visible from Peterborough, gone very far into this notion of accessibility, which means that 100% of people must be included in every activity or it shouldn't happen. And that's nonsense. That's crazy. That can't happen. I'm sorry. Someone will be excluded from everything. That's life. That's the world. We didn't make it this way and we can't unmake it that way. As I used to say to my, comrades in, when I was a socialist organizer, like, I mean, after the revolution, like ugly people are still going to be ugly people. It doesn't fix that problem. Like people who can't make friends are still going to be unable to make friends. Like we can't, social policy cannot fix every variance in human life, and what we strive to do, whether it has to do with disabilities or scheduling or anything else, is to be reasonable and make a reasonable effort to accommodate the most people. But reasonable effort does not mean we succeed. It does not mean we get everybody. It does not mean everybody's happy. It does not mean that everyone can do everything, like I'm sorry to people who, to use I don't mean to be mean, but, to use a particularly pointed example, and, sorry to people who bizarrely post picture captions of their Instagram posts, but like blind people can't use Instagram. They can't. Even if you put captions in your pictures, they can't use it because in order to use Instagram, you have to be able to see the pictures. That's what it is, and that extends to all of life, including when we try to schedule public things. We'll do the best that we can for everybody. But at the end of the day, democracy is not consensus. It's not unanimity. And thank God, because unanimity and consensus are awful. Okay? There's few things that are more authoritarian and unfree and unpleasant and rigid and prison-like than unanimity and consensus. Oh my God. So that's why they're at fucking 6:30 at night. And I'm sorry. And Andrew, you're not even excluded for life. Like you don't like your children are not a lifelong disability like blindness, which granted, blindness will not prohibit you from going to these meetings, fortunately, right? But they will grow up and you will be free at night. And part of being a parent in many ways is that for a certain number of years, and, I feel like for most people, they end at some point. I feel like they usually end when your youngest kid is like 7 or 8, right? But there's a period of time where you're restricted. Your movement is restricted. There's things you can't do. There's places you aren't welcome. There's activities that are just not available to you, or are difficult for you to do. And that blows. Let me tell you, I'm a parent. I know. I don't like that. That bothered me. I'm out of that now, but I didn't like it. But it's what it is, Joe Pesci said. And it passes. Like you can serve if you have that deep desire to serve your community, wait.
Or get a babysitter for 2 hours
or get a babysitter for 2 hours.
A month. Like
a month.
It's not onerous if you really want to serve.
Yep. And I really don't believe that there's very many people in this entire town who couldn't afford to do that. But you know what? If you fall into that camp, I bet you can find someone who will like pay for that sitter for you.
Or watch your kid for free.
I bet you could find dozens of people who would just give you money for this.
True too.
Out of empathy for your plight. You just got to want it badly enough, and if you don't, you wait. And
it's not that long to wait,
I mean, I don't know, not to be a complete dickhead, but like parents of young children are not those of the most sound mind, to be frank. Neither are people over the age of 65, to be frank. So, and that's a majority of our boards, And the topic of the next Warrant article on the list. Topic of the next Warrant article on the list is that if the town appoints anyone to any position, they have to be under the age of 65. Is that what it is? Which again, and I was just making jokes about people over 65, and I think it's fine to make jokes about them. It is illegal to restrict them from boards. Just like it would be illegal to restrict parents of young children from boards. You can't do that. That would be the opposite of accessibility. You know what I mean? That would be saying no blind people are allowed.
But it is being presented as like more accessibility for young people.
Yes, it's not. It's not. We can call the sky green if we want to, but it's not. That's self-evident that claim is not true. But yeah, I mean, ridiculous. I think look, unnecessary too. Like I am a young person. I'm a young person who serves, right? And that's great. But number one, you know, there's exceptions to every rule. I appreciate seeing very young people run. Jonah Wheeler is a national treasure. You know, but he's also like no 19 or 20-year-old that I've ever seen. So he's a serious outlier. For the most part, I don't want anybody under 30 serving in these positions. Honestly, I wouldn't have wanted myself under 30 in these positions. People under 30 are stupid. I'm sorry, most of them. There's exceptions. I wasn't that stupid under 30, but stupid enough that I didn't belong on a board. You know, Jonah's not stupid, but almost everybody's too stupid to serve on a board. I'm sorry. I lived it. I was there. It's true. You don't know. You don't fucking know what you don't know either. You know, you don't know the score. You don't know the goddamn score. Some people do. And if you do, go for it. I'm not encouraging you I'm not saying that you shouldn't run, but, and again, Andrew's not saying that they must be under 30 either, but I'm saying, but I can't ban under 30s either. But sometimes they do, you know, I mean, you got to be, I think 30 for the U.S. Senate, 35 for the presidency, you know, and I like those restrictions. I think that that's legit. But at the same time, my pure democracy side is like, well, what if the people want someone who's 30 to be president? They should be allowed to elect someone. And that's my overarching opinion, honestly.
This Warrant article is just about town appointed.
Yes, it's not about elected. It's not about elected positions. It's about appointed things. But that makes it like extra illegal, right? You can't, the town, that would be like literally the town of Peterborough committing age discrimination, which is prohibited by federal law. I'm sure there's a New Hampshire statute against it, like laws and laws and laws up the wazoo. You know, these are, you know, talk about stealing $2.3 million. I mean, like, these are lawsuit laws. You know what I mean? Like, people, like, just, my God, you want us to, like, lose another couple $1 million past this Warrant article, right? And then let someone enforce it. Because that's what would have to happen. We'd have to send someone. We'd have to have an example, and then that person would sue. But, I mean, great case, God, that they would have, you know? That would be a bad scene for the town. Can't do that. But again, I don't want to ban the old people. I would like it if they would sort of start voluntarily stepping back. But here's the thing about time and about mortality is that, like, the natural stepping back is impending, you know, because of how time works and life and lifespans and shit. And this is the same thing that will solve the housing crisis. I'm sorry to say. The natural cycle of things, because there aren't as many people being born as are going to definitely die in the next 20 years. And again, that's grim, and a lot of people don't want to say those things, but it's 100% true. And eventually, you know, people in their 80s and 90s, even who are still alive, usually have a real difficult time doing things like zoning boards. Some do, and they can be very good at it sometimes, but not that often. Eventually, people have to step back, and the people like myself and Zoe and Andrew and many others involved, for better or for worse, are all going to be millennials. Why? Because we are now coming into our delayed adulthood. Our adulthood is delayed, by the way, by these people who are not retiring and not leaving their homes and not shuffling off. This is 100% of the reason why. They're big and they won't go away. And we are just as big And now it's our turn, and we've got like 40 years to screw everyone else and not go away. You think I'm kidding, but it's not a choice. It's what we're going to do. That's the number one reason Gen Z is screwed, because we're not going to give them anything. They're not going to have jobs. They're not going to have houses, positions, all this stuff. Bummer for them. Good for us, though, Andrew. Good for us. We're going to take over very, very naturally in the years to come. And it's, you know, and it's the same reason going above. It's the same reason it's not Gen X. There's not enough of them. There's not enough of them, and they just don't care about anything. Third
Warrant article, though.
Oh yeah, I forgot there's another one.
Maybe Andrew is trying to solve this problem because he would like to give the old people something new to do besides serve on town boards, and that is walk through the woods to Shaw's. Maybe if they're doing that, because the third Warrant article is about getting the town to create, you know, a path
from Andrew's house to Shaw's.
Basically. Which is a little weird because Shaw's is like less than half a mile away, and like it's not like a bad walk. There's a sidewalk for part of it.
No, and it's in like an aggressively police patrolled area.
Oh my
where
God,
the speed limit is like 30 miles an hour. People coming into town have to go over like the most intimidating rumble strips. Slow the fuck down in this town or we're going to pull you over, that has ever been carved into pavement in America, right? Before they get to you to hit you, you know? And they'd have to go around the circle.
Rumble strips into the rotary and then
find you and hit you. You know, like they'd have to, it would be a hit. It would be a targeted hit. It's the only way you're getting hit, by someone coming down the hill.
Yeah. So if you want to walk to Shaw's, Andrew, go for it.
Go on the street.
You'll be okay.
Go on. You can do it.
You can. I've done it.
I've done it. It's not like I-93. You know what I'm saying? Like it's friggin', it's like the slowest part of 101, you know, for 5 miles in each direction. And it's like a quarter-mile little strip there. But, you know, there's many, so it goes through like wetlands, so the town it would cost like $300,000, by the way, for this fucking thing, right? And, you know, it'd be like a wooden raised pathway through like this like mosquito-infested, tick-infested marsh, right?
It's off of Evan, like it's off of or like connected to Evans Flats Trail in theory, right?
Yep.
Which is a trail that I have only done once, and it was in the middle of winter because I've heard that is like a tick, just a super tick infested
in the marsh.
Super tick infested marsh is, as rumor has it.
Yeah. And then like, you know, I think it was Nicole McStay, a town administrator, pointed out either for the newspaper, I think it was in a select board meeting where this was raised or something. I don't know, somewhere. But she was like, also like Shaw's and their parking lot doesn't have like a spot for like this path to go in, and like they're not part of this plan, and like they don't, you know, we can't just like shove an exit of this path like people are coming out of a water slide, just like floop into a parking space, you know, like I mean, like what the hell? Like that would be like, how do you? Like, you know what I mean? Like we have to put a sign up that's like, the town of Peterborough bears no responsibility for whatever the fuck happens to you past this sign. You know, like
the shopping cart sign.
Shaw's frankly does not want you doing this, but so do it at your own risk. You know, like, oh man. So good conversation starters. Yes. We can have many good conversations around the campfire for years to come about these ballot questions. But God almighty, none of you better be thinking about voting for any of these. Again, the only acceptable motivation is if you want to stop me from being on the zoning board, then vote for the Saturday meetings. But other than that, there's no other acceptable, rational reason to support these things.
No.
We should title this episode, "Should Blind People Be Allowed to Serve in public positions.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
For the record.
I had some of my best friends are blind.
Do they like Instagram?
Yes, hashtag Peterborough NH is their favorite feed on Instagram. If only they knew what a color was. But anyways, lots of exciting stuff to come, everybody. This is really great. We're happy to be back. We missed you all, but I'm glad we sort of we're gone for enough time to gather all of these lovely, because as you know, it's been a slow winter and slow no mo, everyone. Like we're back, we're in the shit now. And
Slow no mo on GoMo.
Yes, that's slow no mo, GoMo tonight. Here we are. Also, no promises, but one thing we didn't cover in this meeting I'm about to talk about a meeting. I also spend most of my day every day in meetings, so it makes, and I say sentences like that. Like, one thing we didn't cover in this meeting, no promises, we didn't cover in this episode is the deliberative session of the town meeting, which did happen already. Last year we had some pretty good coverage of that. I'm sorry. We didn't forget we had an issue. We came up, we couldn't do it. We couldn't be there. We couldn't cover it. And I haven't watched it yet. But one thing that I'm thinking about doing, since I sort of kind of, from screwing with all of these platforms and like everything that we've done and some other projects that we have on the side that we've been working on, I might rip the video from that session and we might do some highlight commentary.
Ooh,
we might put the clips in the episode and talk about them a little bit if we have time. That is a time intensive process. But if we can pull it off, we will. I think that would be fun. We'll definitely do it for the open session. But yeah, so we didn't talk about that because we don't know shit about it. We know that nothing very exciting happened at it. That much we've been assured of by multiple parties. Last year, if you remember, was the very exciting deliberative session where we talked for, I want to say, an hour and a half about the most important $13,000 in history or whatever it was. Excuse me. Yeah, that was the thing. Everyone, like, they presented the budget, like, all these things went through. No one had any questions, like nothing, smooth sailing. And we get to this fucking $13,000 for the Economic Development Authority. And we spent an hour and a half talking about that. That was terrible.
Thought it was fun. Thought it was a fun experience.
It was fun to talk about. We weren't having a good time during that hour and a half. I mean, we were
my memory of it.
Yeah,
was fond.
I have a fond memory of it, but it wasn't fun at the time for that hour and a half. I had fun for the first hour, but we were like, Gene, sit down. Like, we want to get out. Like, I think, I think Bill Kennedy was like, Gene, sit down. Like, we want to get out of here. Like, I mean, it was, all of us were, but it wasn't just Gene, but like, the worst of it was Gene. That didn't happen again. I don't think anything like that occurred. We can hope for for the open session, Yeah. And, but yeah, so lots of stuff to come. Mark your calendars for May 3rd. I think that is probably where I would call it. We'll be back sooner rather than later this time. Until we do. And again, if you don't like the sound quality, Sound Lord Chad had nothing to do with it. It's not his fault. He hasn't fallen off. He's not losing his skills. We're just in a hurry. We're disorganized. We can't find the answer to our platform problems. And Chad's off being a dad rock star. So we'll still put his links in the episode notes because he's a good shit. And we want you to support him. He's turning 40. Give him your money. So until we meet again, as always, take good advice. You probably can't get it from PES kids or the PTO or random acts of kindness or Andrew Osterman, but perhaps from the blind. In any case, we'll see you soon. And yes, again, find. I don't know where I can't tell you where to go. Find some good advice and take it. All right, have a. This is GoMo Tonight with Christy Loretto and Zoe Rodenheim in the Space Lounge. Good night.